So, and CISO deciding affairs at Stamford Bridge. 3 points to Brighton and Hove Albion. Frank Lampard, after the game, he says that he's only been around for 2 games, but he is not happy with what he's seeing. He says he's let that be known to the players. Coach, let's do a breakdown quickly of the goals that Chelsea conceded. So they went 4 games without scoring prior to this game. Managed to score 1 goal, but also conceded 2. Now, if you look at that first goal especially, ball crossed to the far post, there are centre-backs in and around the action. Nobody's picking up Welbeck. And he had been on barely, 120 seconds.
Actually, sorry, before coach goes, we also have to point out they've not kept a clean sheet in 7 games now. So they are not scoring and your defense can't stop anything. Where are you going?
Okay, so there's so many things to say. Too many. Because if you look at, like you rightly said, the goals that they conceded, the first goal was sheer movement on the part of Danny Welbeck. If you go back to the goal again, he was in the middle, but when the pass went to the right, he thought the striker
if we can have that sequence again, just as coach talks to it.
Yeah, so he thought there was going to be what? So watch this again. This was not a goal. This is the Ferguson shot. So once they picked up the ball in that area that allowed them to build, okay, maybe this is the Chelsea goal. Of course, a very good movement by Mudryk. He's that sort of player. When he sees the gap, he will definitely attack it. And that is what you want to see in a natural winger who's got decent pace. And for me, I have said that he's going to come good. The timing of his arrival and what he's been through as a player and trying to adjust. And look, if he gets a proper manager like Luis Enrique, Nagelsmann, takes him through a proper preseason, I don't see how any of them would not see him as a player to be a very integral member of this Chelsea setup going forward. He's a good player. So this is the goal. So you watch Welbeck. He moves in thinking it will be an outswinger. Look at his movement. Whether you saw the adjustment in his body shape. That's experience.
So he goes forward first and then he doubles back.
Way. And that was on the blind side of, is it Badashir? The Chelsea.
But you see, what you want, you have to, as they always say, if you are a defender, you can't let the striker see your back.
I think a Thiago Silva or a Koulibaly would have dealt with this.
The striker should never see.
Okay, they are very experienced and they would have anticipated the move. The moment the Brighton player who was crossing the ball turned onto his left foot, they would have also adjusted themselves in a way to allow them deal with it. But they didn't get it done. Again, on the second goal, there was huge gap in the middle. Look at the way the guy controlled the ball.
He had acres of space.
Controlled the ball. He had 2 touches before picking his spot. He just put his laces through it. And Aritha Balaha, he's got that more or less a record of not being a decent shot stopper from long range.
In fact, he's been beaten by a lot of long distance shots.
Exactly. You put Mendy in this game, he makes that save all day. You put David De Gea there, he makes that save all day. So teams have realized that when you strike the ball decently from afar, 30 yards, 35, 40 yards on Aritha Balaha, you are most likely to go past him. Now let's look at what is happening at Chelsea. Ben, I don't blame Lampard at all for what is happening. I think Chelsea's problem currently should be put at the very top where Todd Bowley sits. Holistically, he's to be blamed for what is happening.
He was in attendance for this game.
Exactly. But they find themselves in the position where my Manchester United find themselves last season. At this stage of the season, last season, United, all the players had checked out. Mentally, psychologically, they see it as nothing to play for in the league. They are not going to get relegated. They are not going to get European football, not even the Conference League. So they've checked out. So the Chelsea I saw play Real Madrid in midweek, especially when they even went a man down to the defending champions of the Champions League, played far better than the Chelsea I saw played against Brighton on Saturday. Again, if you look at what Lampard really has to do in terms of decision making, in terms of player selection, whatever he did yesterday, I would have done same because he knows
that the Champions League is priority.
The players have checked out of the league, and the Champions League is their priority. So would he have started N'Golo Kante Kovacic, knowing the fact that they have a deficit to over 10 in the Champions League against no mean an opposition, but the best in the business. So I would have done the same. But the unfortunate part of it is that if you get players who hardly plays to sit on the bench and they are all of a sudden being required to get in there and do a job, match fitness, not being used to the situations are things that may not go a long way to help them. So this Chelsea problem is going to continue to the end of the season. I just hope that if you're a Chelsea fan, you guys should be able to get Todd Bowley and his people. The decision making. I expect them to take a decision as who the next coach will be with about 3 games to the end of the season. That is what Man United did. Everybody realized that United were going to appoint Ten Hag once it was that clear that he was the man for the job. They are still not certain as to whether to go for Nagelsmann or Luis Enrique. This is my take on these 2 coaches. I think that if they bring in Luis Enrique, he's the most experienced, but his method, his identity will need time
to establish.
Because he's not going to move away from what we saw him do when he was coach of Barcelona and when he was coach of what? The Spanish national team. It's the tiki-taka way of doing it. And it comes with it will perfect time. Whilst if they decide to go with Nagelsmann, he will try and implement what Ten Hag is doing. The high pressing, the quick punting, the movement, the demand. Do it. You have to get it done. For as long as I'm the manager. So you look at the 2 men. Who do you think will suit Chelsea? But the way they do their things at that club, firing coaches now and then,
they need
I don't think they'll have the patience for Luis Enrique. But I do think he should be the man they should actually hire. Because they've got young players and they need a manager who will walk in there and command respect from everybody. You don't want Thiago Silva looking like Nagelsmann, although he wouldn't do that.
I think Thiago Silva is older than Nagelsmann.
Yes, he would, because he looks at Nagelsmann and he's older than Nagelsmann. Koulibaly looks at him, he's almost of the same age, maybe 2
And the truth about players like that is that they are. Thiago Silva is a Champions League winner.
Yeah, they are Champions League winner. He's seen it all.
He's won multiple leagues across different platforms.
So you want him to be coached by a manager who would demand a bit more from him.
And this is a problem they had with Graham Potter.
Graham Potter, exactly. So for me, they should go for Luis Enrique. As to whether he's the one they will pick, because there were reports this weekend saying that Enrique himself was terribly disappointed when they gave the job to Lampard, because he had told them that he was ready to take on Real Madrid in the Champions League, and they didn't offer him the job.
Interesting there. Let's get to Brighton. I mean, their title...
Before we even talk about Brighton, I want to talk about Kepa and XG and that kind of stuff. We always talk about how some of the goals Chelsea are conceding are low XG. But if the same keeper is consistently conceding from long range, it's the keeper. It really is. I think we have to be very honest that Kepa cannot save these long shots because it's too much of a pattern. Because players take these shots all the time, but most keepers are keeping them out.
Exactly.
Why is it you, Kepa, every time?
We saw Keylor Navas today. You from very close range. Bruno Fernandes it's a routine save.
So the long shot thing, and these are the fact that he's letting the lower percentage chance, because he made some very good saves from players in the box. So he can make some good saves. But if you are rather making the good saves on the shots that are a bit harder and letting the shots that you shouldn't let in, the ones from 30, 40 yards, you are putting your team back. Because let's think back to the Aston Villa game. That shot from McGinn. Like, you can just go through the seasons, like nearly every other game, these long-range shots are just flying in. So for me, after a point, there's what the stats say is a good chance. But against Chelsea, if you have a keeper like that, it becomes a good chance. And some of those things, those tiny margins, maybe if Mendy was in goal for some of the games, Graham Potter does. He saves some of those shots, and Graham Potter is still in the job. It's like that, they're fine margins. But on Brighton, look, it's about, there's a plan. And this is the important thing. Because they bought players, they wanted to play a specific free-flowing attacking style. They looked for a coach who plays free-flowing attacking football. And it's like whoever comes into the team, we are seeing results. Mitoma comes in, he plays well. McAllister plays well. And let's be honest, some players, someone like McAllister.
Enciso is just getting his chance.
Enciso is now getting his chance, and he's taking them. He scored, I think, against Wolves or someone in midweek. He scored again here. So you can see that there's quality players. They are looking for the future. And they said, look, we buy young, hungry players. We buy the type of players that people don't take a chance on. Look at this whole transfer saga with Moses Caicedo.
Okay.
It's the same thing. They look for talent. They
could
buy
afford to say, young man, stay out of the team until the transfer window is over. And it never hurt them in any way. They were still very comfortable.
And
Going about
now
their
he's
business.
back in their team. They are probably they are thinking to themselves, look, we can get 100 million for him. Why should we settle for 80? And as someone said, if you are looking for Caicedo for 80 million, you are better off even looking for the person Brighton wants to replace him with, because that player is going to cost 3 million, 6 million, like Caicedo.
But you don't know who it is.
Yeah, and remember, Man United were offered Caicedo, and they said,
and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer turned him down.
And
say he's got
for way cheaper than that.
He said he got Scott McTominay.
And to be fair, if you're a big club, you are thinking to yourself, you want someone who can come and impact the team immediately. I'm not sure, because Caicedo, it took him some time.
Yeah.
They bought him, and it was about 6 months, a year before he really came into the first team to perform.
His profile at the time showed that he had now gained promotion into the national team proper. And he was an integral member of that team throughout their World Cup qualifiers.
Yeah.
But I also understand Man U, because at 18, to come into that midfield, it can be
scouts of Man U and Solskjaer. Look, if it was Ten Hag and his current scouting team, they wouldn't have turned down that opportunity.
Well, there's always that, but there's also like I said, the politics of bringing a youngster from South America knows
and
nothing
I think
about
also
the European game.
the pressure of playing for Man U, it can't be discounted.
Clearly, he wouldn't have been brought in to walk straight into the team.
Yeah,
I think Coach, that's the thing. They were looking for someone they could play immediately. I think that was.
They are ready. They are going after him. Ready to pay 60, 70 million.
Just to talk me through the goal scoring of Brighton. Always a problem that we highlighted. Now a thing of the past for them. And that's interesting because Trossard started the season as their top scorer. He moved on to Arsenal, and Welbeck is scoring, and Ciso is scoring. They're getting goals from Dunk, Ferguson. Like, it's happening all around.
Because, look, another thing about Brighton people don't talk about, because they have a lot of tall guys. The set pieces are also, their threats are set pieces. They're big threats are set pieces. It's very underrated part of their game. So there's the set piece.
They scored from it last week.
And they are very direct. So they are creating look at, if you have someone like Mitoma just running and causing chaos, he's always putting the fullbacks on toast. The fullbacks always, so if you have someone like that getting into the box and putting the ball there, it makes a difference. Then their midfielders can shoot.
Look,
McAllister, he can shoot. Caicedo, he can shoot. So the team is built in such a way that everyone can contribute. It's very great to watch, but the unfortunate thing is when you see a team like this, you know that there's a time limit. You know that the big clubs are circling. You know McAllister, he played well at the World Cup. Ferguson, Caicedo, Mitoma,
it has to do with the wage bill.
These boys will want good money.
Yeah.
So once they've showcased themselves, when the big guys come coming.
I'm curious to see how many of their players eventually leave this.
They probably will let, I feel like maximum 2. Because I think Brighton also thinking about how to stay competitive.
Look, I think all things being equal, they will lose Caicedo.
Yeah.
They will lose McAllister. Yeah. And even the boy from Japan, if somebody can show good money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think they will let
at least 2 or 3 of them.
I think the max is 2. I think if you look at Brighton,
I think 3.
I think
they're getting good money for at least 2 of them.
Yeah, that's what I think, because if you look at the Premier League now, teams are making so much money. You are competing with top European teams for targets in the market. You can sell 1 or 2 and you'll be fine. But I think if you sell 3, you lose too much, not knowing that you are now bringing the replacement to come in and that kind of stuff.
I'm curious
so I think
to see
that
how many of them
I feel like it will be 2 max, because they are thinking to themselves, we also want to be competitive.
Especially if they do happen to get into Europe.
Exactly.
It's about the wage bill. You give McAllister 35,000.
Coach is right. Because Caicedo only signed.
And Man United how much was Caicedo?
Caicedo only started his 15,000. No, he was on 3,000 last season. I think at the beginning of this season, he was bumped up to 15.
Then he's renewed the contract, and I'm sure there's a clause in that contract that says whoever pays this amount of money, you are free to go.
Yeah.
But he's not taking 50,000 there. I doubt whether he'll be taking even 40,000.
Because the 15 was at the beginning of the season.
Were to come and say, look, we give you 120 every week, he goes.
And coach is right. That's really the main reason the players want to leave. Because sometimes they even can see that the team they are going to is not playing as well. They might play less. But at the end of the day, it's a job.
The money is great. Somebody's giving me 10 times what I'm earning. I'll take it. Let's take our